Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm here with SkyDxddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. How about
Good.
yourself?
I'm wonderful, thank you. So your album, TRAUMACORE, it feels really personal. What was the emotional journey like for you while creating it?
Oh gosh. Um, so this album was kind of like 5 years in the making. So there was a lot of different emotions that came from it for sure. Obviously in the beginning it was mostly just trying to get all of those feelings out that I already had in my body. And obviously like that stemmed like the whole obviously it's called trauma core, so it stemmed from all of the trauma that I've been through, all the trauma that I've witnessed my friends, my family go through. So some are like very deeply personal to me. Well, it's very deeply personal to me. But I think as far as emotions go, I feel like it was on the entire spectrum from like I have one that focuses on domestic violence, not guilty, that just complete and utter anger and frustration. Strings and dead butterflies are about like grooming and coercion. So there's like feelings of like defeat and sadness, um, like having certain realizations of all of these different things was definitely a difficult journey to be on, but I feel like it was like a necessary one. And then, you get further into it and then you have feelings of like power and reclamation and feeling like you can use all of the things that you've gone through to not only help yourself but help others. So Bring It On, God of War, even Sirens, there's like this element of I felt very badass writing those,
Yeah.
Um, and then, best part of the story at the very end is like complete joy and happiness, especially because like I was in LA when I was writing it and I was with my girlfriend and just feeling very blessed for what I had and things like that. So it's a very long-winded way of saying all of the emotions,
Yeah.
you know?
For the record, you are very badass. Like
Thank you.
putting this all out there, trying to help people with even just the awareness.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Important.
that.
How did you take care of your own mental health while you were doing it? Did you know?
I definitely took breaks in between, like, so it's interesting because when the album was being created, we didn't even really have the idea, okay, this is going to be in an album. It was always just like, okay, this is a song I need to get out or I'm gonna explode kind of thing. And there were certain songs like Damsels, even like, so Damsels, Bring It On, Sirens, those were all written years ago and they didn't like make the cut of being released as singles because they were just too, even Not Guilty was one of those as well. They were just so in your face and so explicit and like we kind of felt like, and I kind of felt like I wasn't ready to release them like emotionally and mentally, as well as like 5 years ago one could argue that the world wasn't as a little bit like we're a little bit more progressive now where we're you hear about it more often and the dialogue is being created. So I definitely took breaks in between. I tried to like protect my peace as much as possible where like we go on like little trips and like to a lake, like we went to a lake house recently to just kind of like get away from it all. And I spent a lot of times with my dogs. I have 3 dogs, so they help a lot. And here lately I've taken up going to the gym, which has been really nice for my mental health. So just different things. I like to paint. Painting is a really good way of like unwinding, just kind of disconnecting from all of this stuff that I do and trying to like feel like the joy in things. Video games, I like video games. So all
Mm.
all those different things.
What do
Just
you
trying to
play?
so I'm into like RPG stuff and like so God of War actually was created because I was obsessed with God of War for like so long. When I first got started though in like the world of video games, me and my sister, we became so obsessed with the Kingdom Hearts series.
Mm.
And like that was like our thing and like to this day is like my comfort game. Um, and now I'm like into like like kind of I did all like the Call of Duty stuff and the Grand Theft Auto and the basic kind of like doodly kind of things, and then I kind of realized that I was like putting myself in even more stress. And then I realized there's games like like cute, relaxing games like
Yeah,
Animal Crossing and Disney Dreamlight Valley, and
yeah,
like so I play those a lot now, like Mario, just
I
things
do
that kind of
too.
like help, right, like
I'm
just
big
kind of
on
help you.
Dreamlight Valley.
Right? It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I just sit there and plant pumpkins all day long.
Oh yeah. So you've created a safe space for survivors and people who are struggling. What kind of support systems have helped you the most? Advice that you would give, that you would recommend to people that may be in those dark places.
Oh gosh. It's so important to have a support system. And I think from the very beginning, my girlfriend has been my number one support system throughout it all, to the point where she kind of was the person that suggested that I even start making music to begin with. And that helped me so much because like in a world where usually like when you have all of these emotions and these feelings, and I had just gotten diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and PTSD all in one day, and it was just like so hard to kind of wrap my head around the fact that like I was once kind of like a pretty happy, I don't want to say normal kid, but like I was pretty like, I was solid. And then like trauma entered my life and mental illness entered my life, and I had to realize that like my life was gonna be totally different than what I expected it to be. And she helped me so much be okay with that and like learn the tools for that. And you have to really like, something I've learned is like breathing is so important, and we don't even we everyone breathes, but like I do like the box breathing method where it's like in four, hold four, out four, and that like regulates, like there's science behind it, like it regulates your nervous system. And I think for the longest time I was just like kind of in this negative headspace of like, don't tell me to fucking breathe when I'm having a panic attack, but like
Yeah.
it really does help. It's like I said, it's like scientifically proven to help you and make you feel better. Um, so yeah, definitely. So my girlfriend was definitely my biggest support system throughout it all for like ever since I met her. Um, my mom has been a big support as well. There was some rocky things in the beginning with like me and hers relationship, and just family stuff. But my parents are definitely proud of how far that I've come, and it's a really beautiful thing to see. Like my dad wears my merch and talks about me to all of his friends, and he's this kind of gruff like macho guy. So like every time my mom's like, oh yeah, he's talking about you and he wants your album and all this stuff, it's like, wow, what, like that's amazing. Like it's really cool. Like old age has softened him. But yeah, I have my sister is amazing, she's so supportive. Family, I feel like family is just so important. And then at the end of the day, like the people that have connected to my music the most have become such a huge support system, because like being on social media, I first got started in live broadcasting and things like that. So I always like I vented, and I kind of used that as like a therapy session.
Hmm.
And then it transformed into music, so it was something that we could have like at all times, and I could have at all times. So like the fans and the friends that I've made over the years, with like anytime I like talk about my experience with SA or grooming or any of the things that I've gone through, I find other people that have gone through those things, and we help each other navigate those like rough waters.
Hmm.
um but yeah, so definitely having a support system. I would like finding your people is so important for sure. And I definitely know that I'm super lucky to have that, because not everyone has that. um, but if you're safe with it, the internet can be a really beautiful place of finding solace and finding community, and I've noticed that for sure.
Hmm.
um, yeah, so like my recommendations would like I have this thing called a tool belt, where if I'm going through like a PTSD episode or a panic attack or anything like that, um I like take from my metaphorical tool belt, and I like it's like whether it's breathing exercises or using like sensory toys or have like putting I have like so many frozen things in my fridge where I can like just take them out and feel like the cold, and it kind of it puts you back into your body.
Mm.
Um yeah, it's yeah, I definitely have a lot of different things that I kind of take and draw from when I feel like I'm kind of spiraling. Um I'm actually working on a self-help like book about it now because I feel like everything that's helped me so far like might be able to help someone in the future. So I'm calling it the Trauma Survival Guide.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, those are kind of
Okay.
some of the things that I do.
All right. So you are just completely forging your own path in a male-dominated industry. What challenges have you faced? Like, does it just totally fuel you, your art?
It absolutely does for sure. And I think it's cool too because there's a lot of male artists that are so supportive of what I'm doing and that are like kind of in awe of it. And that's really fun to see. Like one of my close friends right now, his name's Sam Tenez, and he actually opened up for me at my debut album listening party that we had like a couple days ago. And he was so supportive. And there are some guys that are like, since my name's SkyDaddy, they're like, do I have to call you that? Or like they get kind of like toxic masculinity-y about it. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's always like, no, you can call me Sky, it's fine. But like Sam literally he calls me Miss Daddy. Like he's just so he's just so secure in himself. And then there's like Echo and like I there's just so many like guys that I've been able like I've had the privilege to meet that know what I'm doing is very, very difficult and just kind of admire it. And then there's the flip side, obviously.
Yeah.
Notice I only said like two men in my 5 years of doing this. But it's definitely difficult. I think for any woman in any male dominated industry, which is like what most of them, you run into the issues of like mansplaining and having people kind of talk at you and they know best at all times and
Yeah.
you couldn't possibly know anything because you're a woman and
Mhm.
you know it's like it's the reality of the thing and you have to kind of it's I've gotten so used to kind of doing the thing where I play coy and be like, oh yeah, like that's such a good idea, thank you. And it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like I don't want anybody to feel like they're not valuable. I want them to, you know, feel like they have valuable information for sure. But like then there's I think there's a line between someone being kind and trying to give you advice and be a mentor for you, and then there's just like straight up like almost having this internal misogyny of just not wanting a woman to be smarter than them almost
Mhm.
like or like know more than them and sometimes that happens especially if that woman has 'cause the biggest thing that I deal with right now is like I'm so immersed in the world. I'm what you call chronically online because like my whole job consists of not only being an artist but being a content creator so people can see my art, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm very aware of like how to work these things, like how to work these platforms and what makes them tick and things like that. And you know, sometimes you come across like guys that are just like, oh, well, like this isn't going to work this way and this needs to work this way and it's just you know it's just like the tale as old as time stuff that women go through and then you go get into like the shitty things where you like kind of deal with sexual harassment and
Yeah.
there was like this producer that I worked with a while ago that produced one of my biggest songs that like out of freaking nowhere he Snapchatted me like nudes of him and it was yeah I was like this is a
What?
professional relationship I don't know and I screenshotted it and I sent it to my girlfriend and she was like maybe it was a mistake and he said it was a mistake it wasn't a fucking mistake
Mm.
and because then it happened no because then I was like the you know how on Snapchat things get like erased and I was like oh I was like I didn't respond and then he was like oh my god I'm sorry I didn't mean to send that and I saw that and then it kind of got erased again and then I was like oh sorry I didn't see what you said and then he was like oh I was probably just asking for an ass pic and I was like okay so now we know that you weren't fucking like that was
Oh, wow.
it's so shitty because then you see them on like TikTok and things like that, and people just being like, "Oh, such a good person." It's just like
Right.
I've got some dirt, but I won't get into it. It's just people, ugh, guys are. I don't know. There's a reason I'm a lesbian, but I'm just kidding. But like, it's You get it.
I
You are
do.
aware, you
Yeah.
know. I could go on for days about that topic. That's a
Yeah.
whole can of worms.
Moving on.
Oh gosh.
So I actually discovered you through your feature with Ryan Oakes on
Okay,
ABC.
awesome.
I'm a huge fan of him, and I heard you and I was like, oh wow. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
that's awesome.
So if you could collaborate with any artist in the world, who would it be? Alive or dead?
NF.
Yeah.
Want to collaborate with NF. So I started because of NF.
Yeah.
Like Megan introduced me to like Mansion and therapy session, and it just changed. It literally changed my life. It was the first time. Obviously, like Eminem would be amazing,
Mm,
but like there is like NF has this like mental health thing about him that like it tapped into something inside me that I've just never felt before. Um, that being said, I have listened to a lot of Eminem lately just because they like fuels my badassness. Um, yeah, that's a hard question too because I also want to collaborate with like people like Jelly Roll and like people that I admire right now.
yeah.
And like Halsey and things and people like that. So yeah, I have to Amy Lee. Like there's so many.
Mm,
I think at the very top of the list would probably be NF though, just
yeah.
because it all started with him, you know?
Hmm. So when someone listens to TraumaCore, what
Mhm.
do you hope they walk away feeling? Do you want them to just kind of feel empowered and, you know?
I want them to feel like heard, and I want them to feel like all of the things like that they've usually kept really hidden inside or maybe even pretended didn't exist, they can finally accept it and they can finally be like, oh, like this situation that happened that like my brain or society made my brain call like a gray area was in fact assault or this thing that happened to me while I was at work where this guy groped me, like that wasn't okay. It's not, you don't get to just get a pass just because it's just like you're, you know, I think so many situations happen where young girls get like guys get uncomfortable with young girls, especially like older guys, where and then you kind of talk about it, and then especially the women that are like, oh well, like that's just who he is, or like that's just like that he's just older and that's just what he does, and it's like that shouldn't be this casual thing that happens, because then you're like the person is left dealing with all of that damage and all of that trauma, and then the person just kind of goes on with their life and moves on like it's nothing. And
Yeah.
it's so frustrating because this woman is sitting there being like, okay, well, let's time to add another assault to the fucking list, and
Yeah.
it chips away at you. It really does. It's like, okay, well, like this happened. Is this something that I talk about? Is it something that wasn't a big deal and people, people have gone through worse, so this, that, and the other. And at the end of the day, like all of it adds up and it bubbles up, and we wonder why we have such a high cases of depression and suicidal tendencies and anxiety and PTSD. And it's because all of these people are walking around with no regard for humans, like whatsoever. And they add on to all of this trauma that people, men and women have already had from the get-go because of the childhood trauma that they've gone through, you
Yeah.
know? And I want people to because this is something I'm learning right now. I'm working with a healer about it, and it's crazy because like the number one thing that I have an issue with is saying no. And it's because in the past, me saying no didn't fucking matter and it put me in danger. So now, and I think this is a lot of people, and I'm working on a song about it right now. It's called Dark Side, but it's about like kind of hammering it into your head that it's okay to not be a people pleaser, and that every time you say yes to someone else, you're saying no to you. And like trying to be a little bit more headstrong and trying to like not like make other people comfortable for the sake of your or uncomfortability, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want them to do it in a smart way because I know that we live in a world where like there are certain things you have to do in order to like survive, and I hate that. I literally hate that, but making that very known is really important.
Mm,
um I want them to leave heard and validated and educated and at the end of all that, powerful, because they have all of that knowledge and they have all of that validation and that feeling of like, oh shit, this thing that happened to me, I thought that it was my fault. I thought that because of society telling me like I wore this so I deserve this, or I drank this so I deserve this, or I was here with at that time, I deserve all this. It's like, no, those aren't even your thoughts. It is society and the world and the media putting it in your head over the course of like so many years, ever since you were little.
Yeah.
Even like girls feeling like, oh well, he likes me because he like pulled my hair. Like, what do you think that leads to? It leads to, oh, he punched me in the face, at least he still loves me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
if that's so terrible, but it's so true, and I'm watching it in real time, and it's terrifying, and I hate it. But yeah, I want them to leave powerful and strong and determined to, if they're in a bad situation, to know that they deserve more. Um, and recollect and remember all of the things that they've gone through and how they have made it through it. Um, but I think that so many of us decide to get through it by saying, oh, well, that was my bad. So I have to just eat that. I have to just take that. But it's like, no, as soon as you place blame where it belongs, at the feet of the people where it belongs,
Mm.
it can no longer eat away at you. And honestly, there's a lot of like, then you just get, I used to say this, I was like, the second something changed in my life and shifted is when I stopped being sad and started being pissed. And like that's what fueled everything that I've done. And some people will be like, "Oh, well, that's not very like woosah of you." And it's like, no, it's not. But I'm not in the woosah chapter of my life right now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that was a long-winded way of saying just like, yeah, power. I just want them to feel power. 'Cause that's I,
Yeah,
especially women, we fucking deserve that at this point.
we do. Um, and then what is a song on the album that you would recommend to someone who's just discovering your music?
Oh gosh, I like to kind of lean them in like gently.
Hmm.
So if I guess it would all depend on what genre they like the most. Because like if they are like a metalhead or like they really like rock, like they'll love Choker. Like Choker's very rock, very Paramore kind of vibes. So definitely Choker is a good thing to lean you in. But if honestly, I feel like it's interesting because sometimes I think about all of the music that I've made and how, you know, I went to LA and I've traveled and I've made all this new music with these new people and I love it. But like there's a piece of me that feels like what makes me me is like that SkyDaddy sound, those SkyDaddy lyrics that they're not perfect. Maybe they're even like a little off cadence, off flow, off beat, but they tell a story that like in unlike any other way that anyone has ever done before. And I feel like if I wanted them to know who I like, I feel like there's like okay, do I want them to be, this is such a hard question. This is such a hard question. Sorry. I'm trying to like think about it cuz like as me as an artist, I feel like something like Sirens, you know, or Bring It On, where it's like, oh shit, she's trying to like stir shit up in this industry and make people listen, and or even Not Guilty. Not Guilty is fucking crazy because like half the song is a PSA, like where it's just like news, like anchors reporting statistics, you know, and
Yeah.
I love that because I feel like it's never been done before. So I think I battle with myself where it's like, oh, is the person that I'm trying, here we go, is the person that I'm trying to like want to be interested in my music a part of the industry and has standards that it needs to be, you know? Or is it someone like that would just be like a fan for life and that has gone through the fucking ringer, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it's in like an industry person that's like, oh, well, we want to get you on the radio, have Choker, have her. But if it's someone that's like, I need something I've never heard before that's going to make me feel something I've never felt, Sirens, Bring It On, Not Guilty.
Yeah.
That was a hard question, but it's
Yeah.
like as I've grown as an artist, I've realized it's different kinds of people, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of sad because it sucks that I can't because we've taken Not Guilty to the radio and they're like, you're nuts if you think this is gonna make it, because they're right, like it's intense and it's a conversation people aren't ready for and things like that, it is what it is, but like it's definitely interesting how we live in a world where most of the time the artists that move forward in their careers borderline say nothing, if
Hmm.
you know.
Sure.
um and honestly, I've had these conversations like with myself and with my team where it's like, hey, you can do this and you can get there faster, or you can do this and you can get there slower, but it's going to mean more. And
Yeah.
I think that, like, I'm leaning more towards this, um, just because I feel like what we're building is so important and so, like, it's unlike anything that's been done before. And I owe it to myself and like the me that first started TraumaCore and my girlfriend even, like, to just see it through, you know? Yeah,
Mm.
that's an interesting question.
And then my last question is just, is there anything else you want your fans to know?
Whew. Just like thank you, I think, honestly. Like I just want to thank them so much. And there's so many things in the works right now that I can't give away too much. I do know we have a deluxe album on the way. I don't have like a date for it yet, but it's gonna have a lot of new songs on it. And I'm really excited for that because they're songs that people have been waiting for a really long time. Um, that I haven't been able to like get cleared until now. So that's really exciting. I'm going to be going on tour again. Don't have dates, but like all these things are going to be happening. Um, I'm writing a book, like I said before, so I feel like hopefully that'll be able to help some people that are going through a rough time. And yeah, just overall, just thank you for being so supportive. And I feel like I kind of just like release my diary out into the world, and it's there's no better feeling than having that be so well received and listened to, and it's this beautiful community of people that just they just get it, like we get each other, and it's so cool. And especially me growing up, I didn't have that at all. Like I had two friends. I was like a theater geek, and I was bullied relentlessly. So it's kind of wild being in the position that I'm at now compared to like younger me. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, yeah, just thank you, I guess.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie. This was
All right.
wonderful.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.